So that's why.
This is on now.
Let's see if anyone's there.
Yo. Anyone there? How long were you in prison for?
That's my, do you have a, there's a waiting room? Admit. Man, I feel like I'm bald right now. Oh, there's a waiting room. I did not want a waiting room.
And then did you look at, I know you, actually, no, you just got done.
Actually, I was done for an hour.
Okay. Oh, really?
Well, I had a 7 p.m. and then whoever it was canceled.
Okay. So in that case, I don't know if you see the,
I didn't get a chance to look yet.
I'm not done.
Yeah,
I just want you to look at it.
I'll, no, I want to. I'm gonna get a chance. Guys, we're gonna start in 1 minute. Can you guys hear me? You can? All right, cool. How you doing, Yas? Good? You're good? Okay, great.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't, oh, you're, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Marissa is here. Yeah, cool. Michelle, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi.
Everyone fill up on gas?
Hi.
No, I did not fill up on gas. I guess I should do that. No, they're out. Luckily, I have, I got a connection for gas.
Who has a connection for gas?
I do.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't. I don't know. I know nothing. I have no connection.
There's
Hi.
gas in Roscoe.
There's gas and I'm on my way. Okay, this meeting's over. I'm getting gas.
It's only $2.99. There was
Nice.
gas in Liberty today.
Sam's Club is only, like 270.
I don't know if you heard Eddie, guys. Sam's Club, it's about 270 for gas. That's these are
Not out.
And
It's
they're not out
60
yet.
miles.
shit. You got a point there. You got a point there.
It's not worth it.
It's probably not worth
Maybe
it.
extra 20 minutes.
So we're gonna get started, guys. I got 3 of you in so far. First things first. I've actually talked to all of you guys, so I kind of think I might know the answer. But does anyone have any specific questions about the zone diet that I haven't answered yet? Nothing. No. Okay. All right. Cool.
What happens when you fall off the rails?
You have us. That's what happens. Or there are other diets, you know? So, and that's kind of one of the ideas of this whole challenge is if the zone diet is not for you, that's fine. You know, there is, there's literally, you know them by name. There's keto, there's, paleo, there's all of these different types of diets, you know? So if this is like, if you're like, you know what, this is not quite for me, cool. You know, that's where you talk to me, you talk to Eddie, and we figure it out from there. So how is it going for you?
It's not going bad for me. I mean, tonight I felt just tonight for dinner, but that was poor planning on my part and just the day. And I think it'll work for me, but I feel like I need more of, I'm not getting 2 snacks a day. I know it. I'm not. And if you had my book, you'd see that. And I didn't plan dinner tonight, which I've been trying to really plan 3 meals and at least 1 snack. I'm not used to eating that often. 5 meals a day. I mean, doing that much a day is a lot for me. If that makes sense.
It does. It makes lots of sense. You're not the only one to tell me this either. You know, yeah, I think Kim mentioned the same thing in the Facebook group. But yeah, you know, like I would say is first off, you guys should be having results already to some degree. I think I know quite a few of you are, you know. So, you know, what I would say is, you know, see how you're doing within a week or 2. It might be a good idea to hop on a scale and see are good things happening. If you're losing weight, cool, you know, and especially, oh, nice, got another person, especially if, you know, if you're eating what you're consuming right now and you're losing weight still, that's great, you know, and if you're happy, then do that, you know, like, I don't want you to continually shove food in your mouth and, because you have to, you know, get a certain amount of macros. So don't do that.
Okay.
You might not always lose weight. There's times where you lose inches of your waist and how you.
Yep.
Do something?
She's still there.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you might end up losing inches off your waist. And you may not necessarily be losing weight. And the reason why that happens is because if you are working out a few days a week or doing other exercise like the hiking, the walking, you're building muscle as well. And muscle weighs more than fat. So you might think, oh my God, I'm not losing weight, but I'm a belt size down. That's a little bit more important than necessarily losing weight.
And weight loss is not one of my big goals.
Good. Awesome.
It's not for me. I'm between a small and a medium. I only weighed in at 140 pounds to start with. I mean, I'm more about building muscle and function than about weight loss.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Cool. And what I would say is you and I can have a conversation. I see you tomorrow. So we
Yes.
can have a conversation about gaining muscle, which is a completely other end of the spectrum. And I'll save that for our talk tomorrow.
Right.
Guys, before we get started, does anyone have any question about any of the week 2 goals? They're all pretty straightforward. Okay, you guys seem like you have no questions. All right, so that's good. All right, so I'm going to get right to it. So I just wanted to kind of do a little bit deeper dive into the zone. And if you guys have any questions along the way, I'll be happy to answer them. Let me share my screen. And by the way, you know, a lot of you guys have shared with me your results already. How do I share a screen? Eddie, are you familiar with Zoom? I feel like it's got harder since last time.
Thought you did a good job last time.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Okay. Recording. Oh, this is embarrassing. Let's see. Full screen.
All you have to do is wave your mouse to the bottom of the screen, and then there's an option to share screen, and it's green.
Green. Ah, it literally was looking and it was green.
That was
It's the
really
only-
good direction, by the way.
That was great direction. All right. Let's see. Let's find one where I don't look like a murderer. Don't show him that picture.
Don't show him that picture.
Okay. It's probably for the best. All right. Cool. All right. So you guys got this from me yesterday. It was one of the meals that I asked you guys to meal prep. And I'm going to cover this because this is really the big thing I want to kind of drill home for you guys. If you guys want to make, you know, something elaborate for dinner, you know, aside from like, you know, a turkey sandwich. All right. First off, before I get here, let me get somewhere else. I want to cover for people who are here to lose weight, like that is kind of the goal. I want to cover a little tip. And I think I've mentioned this to some of you guys, but if not, this is going to be good news, great information to have. All right, so let's look at our sample guy, our 4-block meal right here. You know, he gets 4 blocks of protein, carbs, and fat for breakfast. Now, something you guys can do if you want to put fat loss on overdrive is when you look at this person, this small male, you could reduce the amount of carbohydrate. And there's 2 ways to go about this. Okay. Number 1 is you look at your carb blocks for the day and you take 1 block away from 1 meal or snack. So let's say for dinner, instead of having 4 blocks of carbs, you only have 3. Now, a key factor, guys, is if you're going to try something like this, remember when I started the whole zone diet, it was to get for performance. I wanted to be a better athlete. That was why I started this. And then I saw results quickly and I was like, wow, how far can I take this? Now, you can do something like that where you take 1 carb block away from a meal, or if you really want to put fat loss on overdrive, is you could literally take 1 block of carbs away from every meal. Okay. Now that means that instead of having you know, let's look at this small male. So I'm looking right here, guys. Instead of having 16 blocks, if you were to take 1 away from every meal, this small male is going to have 11 blocks because we just took 5 away. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, cool. So, and this also answers a little bit, Debbie, your question. For instance, if you are finding yourself hungry, if you were going to take anything away, I would say, well, your situation is a little bit different. But, you know, like something like that, if you are consuming a lot of, you know, this is hard to do, you could try to take a little bit of a, maybe 1 block away from some meal. All right. And that's a kind of an easy way to to kind of speed up the fat loss. One more thing I want to add in is, like, I know a lot of you guys have shared that you've lost weight already, and I think that's really cool. I just want to warn you guys not to step on the scale too much, you know, because that is either going to make you very happy or very sad. And the number is not real, you know, over the course of a couple weeks, you know, maybe week 3, and you know for a fact you are down like 5 or 10 or 15. You just know it. You can tell. You can physically see it in the way you're looking that you've lost weight. Sure, you know, it might be a motivating little thing, but I highly do not recommend weighing yourself every 2 days. You know, all it's going to do is stress you out or make you momentarily happy. The number fluctuates throughout the day, guys. So I would be very careful if you're someone who weighs yourself very often. Also, one more point about that. For anyone who has lost a nice little chunk of weight in week 1, like 5 to 7 pounds, great job. That number, it might stay like that for week 2. You might be down another 5 or 6 pounds. What might happen though is it goes from this to that, which is kind of like real life, guys. You know, like yeah, this is how it's going to be. You know, we're super excited we lost that weight, and now it's going to start to slow down. That's normal. That's normal. Okay, doesn't mean it's not working. That this is how it is. You know, like if you hear people talk about weight loss, sometimes you'll hear them say, well, you should lose like 1 to 2 pounds a week. I don't know. You know, but that's kind of, you know, I've heard that people who do that sustain weight loss better. So don't be shocked if suddenly you went from like, oh my God, I lost 8 pounds in week 1. And now in week 2, I'm only down another 2 pounds. Good. Congratulations. You're down 2 more pounds. Okay. So there's one thing I really want to cover tonight, and it's how to make a meal, like how to like look at ingredients and then make a meal and maybe have enough left over to make another meal. Okay. So let me get back to my Word document. All right, guys. So this is the chili that I put in the week 2 goals. I love this chili, by the way. I don't know if anyone's had made it. I know they're not in the meeting, but Dale and Jen have made it, and they said they liked it too. Let me see if I can scroll down here. Okay. All right. So if you look here, 1 pound of ground beef has 10 blocks of protein. All right. So we're just going to check my math here. We're going to go down. And if we look at ground beef right there, 1.5 ounces equals a gram of protein. You're just going to have to take my word, guys, that that's right. All right. So 10 blocks of protein is about a pound. All right. Let's go back to this page right here. All of this stuff doesn't count for anything. You know, there's, you know, spices, they're micronutrients, you know, like there's micronutrients in cumin, and garlic is pretty healthy for you, but it's not a macronutrient. Now, here's where things get funky. If you look at the bell pepper, 1 1/4 cups equals a block. Okay. So, you know, probably one actually decent sized bell pepper is going to be about 1 block of carbs. And then if you have another, you know, a green pepper, that's another 1 in a block. So, and then we have our diced tomatoes, and that equals about 2 blocks of carbs. All right. So if you look at our meal, I'm going to scroll down to I'm going to scroll right to here. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks of carbs. I forgot onions right here, guys.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What exactly is a macro?
Macro, so a macronutrient, there's 3 macronutrients. Or like there's protein, there's fat, and there's carbohydrate. And you know, obviously, like protein is good for building muscle. This is an extremely complicated answer, you know, but protein does a million things for your body. It actually regulates energy. You know, your glucogen stores are regulated by your protein. Carbohydrates, you know, they provide glycogen to the body. So these are like these big components of health that are really matter. You know, it's kind of what food is broken down to. You know, when it all gets said and done, you know, it's going to be either a micronutrient or a macronutrient. And when we think of micronutrients, we're thinking of vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So basically it's like a carb or protein or something else that can sustain you broken down?
So that's something that we could definitely dive deeper into. So carbs are the macronutrient that feeds the brain. It's not the only macronutrient that does that, But that's why when people say, "Oh, I want to stay away from carbs," yes, the keto diet, you could do that and you will lose weight, but carbs aren't essentially bad. Some people's body could just handle carbs better than others. So carb is the macronutrient that usually feeds energy to the brain, and it also has longer energy. So when you eat carbs, that's for, like, let's say you're about to run like a marathon or you have like a sporting event. Carbs actually are going to be the macronutrient that your body utilizes to keep going for longer distances. Fat is the macronutrient that our body uses very fast, but we store a lot of it. We store fat and carbs, a lot of fat and carbs. And when we eat too many carbs in one sitting, our body can't handle all that. So what it does is it turns that into more fat.
Same thing with protein.
And then protein is the one macronutrient that kind of flushes through our body a lot more. So when people, like, growing up, I was always told, have this 50, 60, 70 gram protein shake. Your body cannot absorb all that. It cannot absorb all that in one sitting. So all those macronutrients get converted into fat because your body can't utilize it all at once. So it's very, very confusing. We could definitely get into it more if you want to, but that's essentially what all three of the macronutrients, like, that's the purpose of them, to turn into energy. But we can't store all of it at once, so it turns into fat. So that's why we have a lot of abundance of fat. And fat is just a macronutrient that burns very fast. Think of like a sprint. If you do a sprint, our body's going to attack our fat source first. But if we're doing something longer, it attacks our carbohydrates first. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah, it does.
All right. So if you look at this meal here, guys, it has 10 blocks of protein and 5 blocks of fat. So I actually cover this at the bottom of the screen as well. You know, it's super simple here. So like if you're a large female, just divide this into 3 equal portions. You take your food prep container, and you would just take, whatever amount of food is made, of chili is made, and you just divide it into 3. Now that is not a complete meal. Okay. So you have your 3 blocks of protein and only 1.5 blocks of carbs and really no blocks of fat. So that's when you have to finish the meal, or finish the, fill your blocks. So again, you could add like an apple, if you wanted to increase the amount of, also, that's just for a girl. So you can have like an apple or something. And then if you, and then you'd also need your fat. So that's where you have an almond or some avocado or some form of fat. All right. And then the same thing for a guy. You could take this and just split it into 2 equal portions. And now you have your 5 blocks of protein, 2.5 blocks of fat. And that's where you need to incorporate some other form of carbohydrate. All right. Same thing with, you'd have to incorporate like an apple or some carrots or something along the sides. And then you would also need to have 5 blocks of fat. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. So that is kind of in a nutshell, like how you would take a meal and make something out of it. All right. So, which I've had a couple people ask me, like, well, how do I turn like beef stroganoff into a zone meal? And that would be very hard. Your portion would be extremely small because of the amount of carbohydrate you're consuming. So you kind of have to look at something. You want something with a lot of vegetables in it, when you're looking to make some type of meal. So that's kind of the take-home message for something like this. Does everyone have any specific questions for like something you might want to make? Like a food you might be craving, something you want to have for dinner, and we could kind of maybe zone block it.
That's not my question, but I do have a question.
Go for it.
So for dinner, I made tuna the other day. I think I made like 3 or 4 cans just so I had like all of it and I didn't have to keep coming back and making it. So
Yeah.
Tonight what I did is I just took lettuce and I put the tuna in the lettuce, and that's what I ate for dinner with a side of broccoli. So I didn't weigh out the tuna, but there really wasn't a lot left. So I kind of just gauged it. But I'm pretty sure like where I'm at, I think is like 3 ounces of protein or whatever, or 3 blocks of protein for that meal. But even though I didn't reach like the carbohydrates or whatever else that I was allowed for that meal, like block wise, and I ate the lettuce, like does one thing compensate for the other? Or do you know what I mean? Like I just ate a salad with that in there. I didn't eat anything else and then the broccoli.
So, if I'm understanding you right, like for instance, no, not like you can't like have like excess protein. I'm not sure if I'm answering this right, but like, no, you can't like have extra protein and then take away a carb block. Is that kind of what you're asking me?
No, like, yeah, kind of, but I also, like, I didn't take the container and be like, okay, well, this is how much tuna, which would have never been equivalent. There's no way. It really wasn't a lot. It was like a couple spoonfuls. And the like basically, can I overdo one? Like if did I overdo like eating too many vegetables? Like I ate broccoli, like it was just a side bowl. It wasn't like an abundance of broccoli, but
I will say this, and this is to answer your question. If anyone has a similar question, it's very simple. You have to really, really, really go out of your way to consume more broccoli or vegetables than you would need. All right. 1.25 cups of broccoli is a block. So Michelle, you would have to have like close to 4 cups of broccoli to.
not even, yeah.
Not even close. If anything, you might need to have more. You want to say something?
No, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Vegetables are one of the things that we could kind of go over. We're not telling you to go over every single time, but if you are going to have a little excess of anything, vegetables would be the thing that we tell you guys to go a little bit overboard here.
If you're still hungry, guys, remember this. If you're still hungry, if you use this as a way to track your macros, if you're still hungry, you're going to have more vegetables. Okay, so that's a thing. I will say this. I don't know if I covered this in the past, but if you're going to go over, it's going to happen, guys. If you're going to go over on something, go over on fats. And this also kind of goes into what we were talking before. Michelle, you asked like, what is a macronutrient? You know, so with fat does not affect your insulin levels at all. So like, for instance, if you have a couple extra almonds, fat is calorically dense. Like it's actually the most dense. I forget, maybe Ed, you remember. Do you know how many calories? I think it's 9 calories are in fat. What is it in protein? 6? 7? And
carbs and protein are the same.
Are they? Okay. So fat is calorically the most dense. But if you were to have like a handful of almonds, as opposed to, if you were to go over on something, calorically you had too much. That said, it doesn't affect your insulin levels. Like just Eddie said about having the 50 or 60 gram protein shake, that your body can't metabolize that much and it needs to store it somewhere, and it's going to store it as fat. All right.
Where does salt fit into that? Because I wondered salted nuts versus non, because like I have almonds that are salted because they're what I already had, and then I have non-salted. And then camping this weekend, I had cashews that were salted, but like that was like my go-to. I'm hungry, I'm in the middle of the woods, need to eat this type of thing. So like, do you prefer non-salted, I'm imagine?
Yeah, and the main reason is, in fact, I also prefer raw almonds because when they're roasted, they taste better. And it's not that we don't want them to taste good. It's just you're more likely to overconsume almonds or anything if it tastes really good, So like, for instance, if you these are whole natural almonds. They have no salt. They are roasted though. And if I had my choice, I would have gotten the exact same thing, but I would have gotten them raw because they don't taste as good, so I'm less likely to overconsume because I know myself, I'm a very all or nothing type person, so I'm either all in on eating healthy or I'm eating pizza, Chinese food. And I'm just a food pit. I just eat all of the food. Yeah, and that's the reason why I want to have something that might not be, this isn't as tasty as having Jiffy peanut butter, but Jiffy peanut butter isn't even really peanut butter, it's, if you look on the back of it, it's partially hydrolyzed corn seed oil and sugar, and there's all sorts of things in there. If you're going to have peanut butter or something like that, it should have 2 ingredients, peanuts and salt, and that's really it, guys.
So it's like with the yogurt, like you want us eating plain, disgusting, nasty, unbearable yogurt.
I do, but I want you to also realize that we are so like
It is the grossest thing I think I've ever eaten.
You know what though? What you'll find is if you keep going and you keep eating like this, your palate is going to change a little bit because plain yogurt to me kind of tastes like sour cream, and I like sour cream. And also like it's
expired?
what? No, I think it tastes like sour cream. You know, I mean, plain yogurt kind of tastes like sour cream to me. But also it doesn't taste horrible. It just tastes like plain yogurt. It doesn't taste like, you know, the Yoplait whipped, you know, it's almost like pudding in the morning. No, it doesn't taste like that, you know, but I know myself, if you give me something like that for breakfast, my brain is going to go crazy. And I almost positive I'm going to have pizza for lunch. I'm going to put sugar in my coffee. I just know myself, you know, it's like giving a crackhead just a little bit of crack, you know. I don't think it quite works like that. At least for
So
me, it
it's-
doesn't.
It's the same with the oatmeal now too, right? Because I'm kind of getting sick of eggs. I was vegan before.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten eggs in a million years, and now I'm sick of eggs. So I think like in the morning, if you guys want me eating, what should I be eating? I could put like plain oatmeal and throw some berries in it and call it a day.
You could do that. Also keep in mind that you don't have to have breakfast foods for breakfast.
I've
know?
been just drinking coffee and tea. I've stopped eating breakfast, honestly.
I mean, I don't love that personally. I mean, first off, there's a million ways to skin a cat. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's intermittent fasting and something like that where you have like a window where you're not eating. And then honestly, like I will say this about nutrition is like sometimes a lot of these diets contradict each other, you know, and sometimes they say the exact same thing. Like I don't know keto that well, but what I do know of keto, it sounds a lot like it sounds similar to like paleo in a sense of like, hey, we want your body to run off of fat and not sugar. And it's very similar for the paleo diet. We want your body to run off of fat and not sugar and carbohydrate, you know. But yeah, you know, like I would say that this is the baseline. If you're gonna stick with the zone, and you don't have to, it's just like for whatever reason, it's the first one we talked about, and you guys seem to be doing it. But
I
like,
think, Michelle, I can give you I make a flourless pumpkin pancake with pumpkin puree and egg whites and peanut butter powder.
Ooh, that
And it's-
sounds good.
And it's got a quarter of a cup of peanut butter powder, which is 2 fats, which I couldn't get fats in. And I mean, I love peanut butter, and I'll take a teaspoon and a half of peanut butter over anything. I mean, I use real peanut butter with just peanuts and I'll put it on a half a banana over anything else for breakfast. But I mean, I like that, and it makes 3 good size, and they're thick. And you can still, even with that, take a half a cup of yogurt, and that still fits into breakfast.
Beautiful.
With 3 blocks of everything.
I think my struggle too is that I've never been a breakfast person. So
Oh,
now-
I'm struggling to get it in at breakfast too.
yeah, and like I usually drink my coffee and I'm solid for the day, but it's like constantly trying to remind myself I have to have it. So I would
You've gotta
definitely
have
try that
something.
though.
All right,
Also-
I'll put it on the page.
I'll send it to you, Michelle. You know, she's not on the Facebook group, but I will send it. You just put it on there. I will send it to her.
Or I can bring it in the morning.
Perfect. Oh yeah,
I'll
whatever.
bring it in tomorrow morning.
Michelle, I wanted to get back to answering your question about the tuna. I just want to give you a super simple way of doing this. Okay. So let's say you took 5 cans of tuna, and I think a can of tuna, that's a little bit much. Let's just say you took 3 cans of tuna. Okay. So 3 cans of tuna, I'm pretty sure they're 5 ounces each. So now we have 15 ounces of protein. Okay.
Okay.
So you can add in some mayonnaise to this. You know, I'm not exactly sure how you make your tuna fish.
Mine had pickles and celery and a little bit of mayo, yes. And
Cool.
salt and pepper and
Well, you-
paprika.
Make this easy math. What you could do is you could so we have 15 blocks of protein with the 3 cans. And then you could always, I don't know how much mayonnaise you would need to put in, but measure it. Let's say you need for 3 cans of tuna fish, let's say you need 10 teaspoons of mayonnaise. I have no idea. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's 10 teaspoons of mayonnaise. That's 30 blocks right there. Yeah, so let's see. So you have 30 blocks of that, you would have 15. And then your pickles, let's say you took, I don't know, let's say you have one block of pickles in that whole situation, you know, because let's say you take 3 or 4 pickles and you do your thing. So you might have your meal, like the whole thing, if you put it in one giant container, you might have something like 15 blocks of protein, maybe 2 blocks of carbohydrate, and 30 blocks of fats. So how do you make a meal out of that? You know, what you could do, and this is, you know, getting in the weeds a little bit, but you could always, so it's 15 blocks. What I would do is maybe put that in 5 containers. Cause remember, you only need 3 blocks of protein, right?
Well, all of it was gone. Michael ate most of it. So there was literally like nothing left. So I was like, well, instead of wasting this little tiny bit that's left, I just threw it in a salad and I ate it.
That's fine. Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, the rest of it was gone, but I've just figured, but that's good to know because I could do that in the future. I could put it in separate cans and make sure there's an equal amount. This
Yeah.
way, yeah.
And then you just got to kind of know what you're at. Like what I would do is I would take your container, you put your tuna salad in it, and then I would write on there with like a piece of masking tape, 3 blocks of protein, maybe 5 blocks of fat. And remember, if you're going to go over on something, we go over on fats. Okay.
Okay.
And then there might be 0 blocks of carbs, you know, because realistically, when you start taking that and you start thinking of it in 5 meals, it's either 0 or 1. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So then what you would need is a little bit additional carbohydrate, and that's it.
Which would I have gotten from the broccoli?
Yeah. So you could have, you know, if you had a little bit of broccoli, you know, you could like 1 1/4 cups, then boom, there you go. There's your meal. Guys, honestly, like you don't have to be 100% perfect with this. It's the concept of tracking, you know, and what you'll find, and I know it's working because I physically see you guys like losing weight, you know, like I had a few of you today and it's like, holy crap, this is working, you know? So it's the concept of tracking, knowing what a portion is, you know, like the American portion is massive, you know, like if you take cereal, like our cereal bowls and our plates are just getting bigger and bigger. You know what I mean? So just having an idea of what a portion is, and that's really all this is, guys. You know, it's very simple math, you know, and just preparation. One more thing that I have, and then honestly, guys, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but I'm pretty much done. What I find on this diet, and I've done this diet for a long time, you know, to very high level of success, is I am hungry when it's time to eat. And what I find is I need to eat roughly every 5 hours. And it's literally to the T. And you know, I'm guessing that I'm not unique, that you guys should be kind of similar. So for instance, me, I do have breakfast. I had my oatmeal this morning around 5:45, and I had a couple string cheeses once I got here. And then I ate again. I started to get hungry around like 11. And around 11, I had my lunch. And then I was satisfied for quite a while. And then around 3 o'clock, I started to get hungry. So I had my first snack. And literally right before this meeting happened, guys, I ate my dinner. I had a sandwich for dinner. And I feel great now. But it's 8:30. I'm going to be up for a while. If at 10 o'clock I am hungry, I will have my second snack. And to answer your question, Daddy, if I'm not hungry, I am not going to have my second snack. Does that make sense, guys?
I thought we weren't supposed to eat after 8 o'clock.
I don't think that matters too much. Again, it depends on your diet or what you're listening to. I've seen memes online where they're like 7:59, this has 100 calories in it. 8:01, it still has 100 calories in it. But I don't know, you know, like I think it depends on the diet. I will say this, that when I got down to a very low percentage of body weight, I was eating past 8 p.m. and I personally had no issues. But I would
You're
say,
also a man.
I know it's bullshit. It's not fair.
You guys lose weight just by looking at a treadmill.
It also depends on the food that you're eating.
There's
The fact
truth in that.
that this zone diet is a lot of natural whole foods. That type of food gets processed down way quicker than eating a bag of chips at 8:01. So it's really about
Yes,
the food
very true.
that you're eating.
I agree.
So because we're eating these natural foods, our body could break that down a lot faster. And that's the point of eating 5 smaller meals. Keeps the metabolism working all day. It's kind of like if you're running like an air conditioner and you got to turn it off and on, off and on.
Oh, yeah.
You're burning more electricity by turning it on,
a good
letting it cool the house down, and then turning it off and then turning it back on. That's essentially what our metabolism is doing. So that's why we like the 5 smaller meals. And if you're not a breakfast person, then maybe eat the snack for breakfast.
that's
It's a
good
lot
too.
smaller
Yeah.
and it's probably easier to put down. So those are just a few tips for you guys.
Yeah, and guys, last thing, and then if you have any more questions, I'll answer them. If not, we'll wrap this up. I just want to piggyback on what Eddie just said. Experiment with this. You know, like there is the baseline version of this diet. No matter what size human being you are, whether you're small, medium, large, there's the baseline version of the diet. Then once you start to get the hang of this a little bit, you can play around with it a little bit and see how you're feeling. I think I've talked to some of you. In fact, I know I talked to one of you and I was like, hey, try this oatmeal. And all I want to know is how long are you satisfied for? Like if you had oatmeal in the morning, how long does it take until you say, I'm kind of hungry? I promise you this, if you had oatmeal and it's not super sweet, it just, it fills your needs. You're probably going to feel a lot fuller from that than pancakes, which is just carbohydrate. It's just sugar, and then you're probably going to you're going to get tired. You're going to need coffee. You're going to want to put sugar in your coffee. And it just goes downhill, guys. Same thing with not getting enough sleep. You don't get enough sleep and suddenly, I know myself, if I only get 5 hours of sleep, I'm probably putting sugar in my coffee because I am not a happy camper. Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions? Nothing? Okay. I don't think, Eddie, do you want to say anything?
Definitely just keep checking your emails. I'm sending a bunch of articles and fun ways to go about certain things. Like what I sent today was about the dial system. If you guys get a chance to take a look at that, and if you have any questions, maybe the next Zoom meeting we could go over what I'm going to do for my dial system, what I think I need to work on.
It's really hard to hear you.
Can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Better.
I said I sent you guys an email. Definitely just look out for more emails like that. I'm going to keep sending emails that I find from my book, from magazines, from other health professionals that I talk to daily, and they give me some good information and I give them some good information. So be on the lookout for all those type of emails and feel free to talk to us about it at any time. So the next Zoom meeting, we'll probably get into one of the articles that I've been reading and talk about it and see if we could relate to it or see if we could, something that we could implement into our nutrition plan.
Cool.
So.
All right, guys, so we're going to wrap it up here. It might be a week or two before we do this. I'm not going to, I don't have much to say. I've kind of covered the zone diet in a lot of detail. If you guys start to have some questions that I think would be great for a group meeting, we'll do another one. Aside from that, I would say, I'm going to be handing the reins off to Eddie more and more. So he will be your go-to person. Obviously, I'm here for you guys 100%. But he's going to start to take a bigger role starting this week even, he's almost done with the week 3 goals, and use him, guys. I'm speaking for you a little bit, Eddie.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he wouldn't mind doing private Zoom meetings with you guys because that's what you're paying for. All right.
I have a lot of information and I'm ready to share it. Just like I said, carb cycling, there's keto, there's other diet plans, there's the zone. We could talk about that at any length. Just send me an email or send me a text and we could do that.
Cool. All right, guys, I think that's about it. I want to thank you for spending your time with me and learning about this. And please reach out and use this as your resources. Okay, we are here for you. Okay. All right, guys, that's it.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Bye.
Guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Yep, everyone have
Yeah.
a good evening. All right, cool. That was good. That was very good.
Yeah. The dial system I sent them.
Let's see here.
It's pretty cool.
Let me stop recording.